6 tonight, potential elimination game after the Western Conference Finals. At least half of it is already set with the Timberwolves going and knocking off the Warriors. The second half tries to get set tonight as Oklahoma City, one win away. They take on the Nuggets in Denver. You can catch that game right here starting at 7 o'clock.
If you smoke, take it outside. Get the facts at don'tpassgas.org.
This is Extra Innings with Pledger.
Truth is, I am Iron Man.
Rock and roll! The Texans win it!
You've been called the Da Vinci of our time. What do you say to that?
Absolutely ridiculous. I don't paint.
That ball is history. A walk-off home run.
And it's going to be legendary.
James Pledger wraps your day with insight, opinion, plenty of sarcasm, and of course, your calls. He'll even pour a beer out the door for his favorite story of the day. This is Extra Innings with Pledger. Now, here's Pledge.
Welcome into Extra Innings with Pledger, right here on San Antonio Sports Star, 94.1 FM, sasportstar.com. I am James Pledger. I appreciate y'all joining me, no matter how you're joining. If you're listening on 94.1 on your FM dial, if you happen to be locked in, listening via our AA Best Bail Bonds audio player at sasportstar.com, or if you're watching on YouTube, like so many do, you can watch all of our shows live on YouTube. We stream all of our live shows right there. Just go there, search at SA Sports Star, like, subscribe. You can comment along with the show. And I love that because we do have a guy in here. His name is Sam. He must have been listening to the Blitz earlier because apparently he has now changed his YouTube name to Not the Sam Who Called. And if you were listening to the Blitz today with Joe, there was a city manager, councilman, something suggested the airport be renamed the Greg Popovich International Airport. And we're trying to figure out if that's a good idea, bad idea, name a street, whatever you got to do. But somebody named Sam called in that was not too pleased with Greg Popovich or his body of work, which his body of work makes him the greatest head coach in NBA history when you combine wins with titles, success, sustained success, all of these things that Greg Popovich has been a part of, including what he's done in and for this city, both in basketball and out of it, as a philanthropic person within the city. And of course, let's not forget about what he meant to this country, being, part of the Air Force. But other than that, he lost his argument as soon as he brought up Pop riding the coattails of Tim, Tony, and Manu and David and the players that he coached. And he said, Phil Jackson's the greatest coach of all time. I'm sorry, did he not have Jordan and Kobe and Shaq to help him win titles? I'm sorry, your argument falls flat right there. Because yes, players help you win titles, as do coaches. They both have a hand in it. And Greg Popovich brought not only the first, but all 5 and the only championships to the city of San Antonio. And he is very, very important to this city. Now, you may not agree with everything he says, what he does behind the mic, calling out, but whether you like him or not, his players love him and he protects them at all times. And he brought up him calling out the fans for booing Kawhi, protecting a former player. That's all he was doing. And as a human, you got to respect that. But, man, I opened up the chat and I see Not the Sam Who Called in my YouTube chat. And it just made me extremely, extremely joyous because that made the Blitz a little bit wild today. But yeah, like a street going into the stadium, like you would Vince Lombardi Drive, or, if there's even a Mike McCarthy Drive up there, that's a great way to do it and pay homage and honor to a man that has meant so much for the city of San Antonio and the organization known as the San Antonio Spurs. Speaking of the San Antonio Spurs and this organization, Morning Huddle this morning talking about it. We'll get into it right now. AJ and Rob, should the Spurs trade that number 2 overall pick?
So the Spurs, who we now know have the number 2 pick, they've got a ton of young assets. There's a lot of things looking bright for the San Antonio Spurs.
It's been a long time since you wake up and when you bring up the Spurs, everybody smiles. Like, hey, this is all right.
What it's brought really is options. And it's at least brought the theory that options exist. None of us know if the Spurs called Milwaukee with an offer tomorrow, Milwaukee might say, yeah, we're not really taking offers. It's a nice thought, but we're not interested.
And you're right. But and also we have to apply the same thing to the Spurs. We have to act like if anybody's calling, they're answering. You know what I mean? This is a franchise that traditionally just doesn't make moves like this. It's just something that they don't do. They're risk averse. And I get it. But and I think that's why there's so much optimism, because if you're risk averse, I get it. But right now you can take a risk and really not take a big risk. You can risk a little and still have money in your pocket and improve exponentially. You can improve by X if you just make the right move. It doesn't have to be a huge move. It just has to be the right one. So you can make a huge one. You can make a middling move and still go, I see title in the next couple of years.
Right.
You can feel it, but it's also terrifying to me.
What do you mean terrifying?
Because as I sit and watch franchises flounder, you only get 1 or 2 shots at the ring. And if you miss it, you got to start, you got to shake the snow globe again. You got to start over. And we're already into a process, and an error can throw this thing off wildly. An unfortunate trade, a bad locker room guy, a coach that doesn't measure up. There's a lot of variables, even though there's some it's happy. There's some things that could really blow up in our faces because we're in brand new territory with new coach, all these draft picks, the availability of going to get not a washed up dude at the end, but a dude that is fully capable of bringing a title to you next year. You have the chance to go get.
You do. And I would be very open to that idea. I'd be interested in that idea.
I think we're in the minority, though, dude.
From what I see, we certainly are. It appears that most Spurs fans, and you know what? I kind of caught whiffs of this last offseason when we were talking about how the Spurs could improve and how the Spurs fan base is so defensive of guys like Devin Vassell and Keldon Johnson. Like,
built, not bought.
We
picked them.
They're our guys, you know. And I don't think Spurs fan, because the Spurs have never been real free agency or trade players, that they don't understand how rare the opportunity to get a guy like Giannis is. It doesn't happen.
Well, we've always had one, so we never really had to go look at.
Right. So, but this is it now. It's been a while since you did have one of those.
But for 25 years,
yes,
we had Giannis in one version or another, and
you
think everybody
that
has
caliber of a player,
and you get used to thinking, you think everybody's got a guy like that, and then when he's gone, you go, my gosh, there's only 2 or 3 in the world. We just happen to have 2 in a row.
And right now, the Spurs have a guy who they think can become that. Most people, the overwhelming majority of people, think he will become that.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point, he is not. And they have the opportunity, I think, to add a guy who currently is. And to not lose, I don't think anyway. And if the trade were to go down the way I expect it could go, where you're giving up a bunch of future first-round picks, you're giving up Keldon, Devin Vassell types, you're probably giving up the number 2 pick in this draft, or Steph Castle, one or the other. You are left with a core that I believe is a championship level core.
I don't think anybody dispute it.
And now what people have said is Giannis shortens your window. You got maybe 2 or 3 years before Giannis really falls off. And that might be true. That like Giannis isn't going to last forever. His game's very much built on athleticism, and that declines. He's not going to be like Steph Curry out there at 40 or whatever, still balling. That's just not going to happen. But at the same time, LeBron James' game is a lot built on athleticism, and he still seems to be doing just fine. That said, though, the idea is when Giannis does start to decline, and anybody who says Giannis is already declining is just wrong.
He's plateaued. But I mean, he's plateaued at greatness.
Yeah, statistics say over the last 3 years have been the 3 best years of his career. Like he's sitting, you're right. He's riding level, but it's a pretty damn good level. And the idea to me is when he starts to decline, that's around the time when Wemby ideally becomes, one of those 5 guys.
We saw it with Tim and David.
Yes.
Well, David was actually already declining by the time Tim.
Yeah.
I mean, it had already begun, but we've seen it happen.
And you saw it with Kawhi and Tim.
And we know it's possible. We know you can do this kind of thing. And the key to this is the egos have to also align. David, whoever it is, Giannis maybe next has to start to understand that I am no longer that guy, and I'm more than willing to allow the next guy to become that guy. And that's not the easiest thing to do. That's why I say we've seen it happen. We saw it go down. We saw one of the greatest of all time hand the mantle off to the next guy and happily let him go and be. That doesn't always happen.
No.
But I think Giannis would be perfectly amenable to declining and still winning. And now you got to be winning and you got to be self-actualized at the time. But that's a very difficult thing to deal with. In fact, I would say only 2 or 3 teams in history have been able to do that consistently. Move old guys into new guys into old spots and let the old guys leave gracefully. That just doesn't happen very often. And it's egos that go into it. But I do think this situation would align just like the previous one. I never thought of Giannis as a me-only guy, that it's all about me first and the rest can have stuff. So I don't buy the argument that it would shorten it. I think the concern is that is so much unscratched capital to give away. We're giving away lottery tickets that could be worth all this stuff, and we could be getting
could be worth nothing.
Right, and we could be bringing in a Giannis that one rolled ankle away, one thrombotic episode away, we collapse. So there's risk on both sides. The problem is risk is like it's a numbing agent. You get used to risk. It's not an easy thing to adjust to. And if you're averse to it, you're jumping into the deep end of the pool. This isn't just kind of a deal. This is one of those kind of deals that happens every 5 years. I mean, you just don't see this. And for San Antonio to jump into this end of the pool right now with all that they have in the bank, I can see the reticence. I can see it from the fans. I can see it from the guys in the front office because, shoot, we've never been here before. And what if this goes bad? It could take a decade to rebuild.
Yeah.
It could literally take us a decade. Look at what's going on in Washington. They'll never get a number 1 pick again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You feel like, man, they're doomed.
But the idea that you have to protect these future picks like they are already a player is silly to me.
Well, you have to treat them like that, though, and you have to act like that in front of other people in the back. But in the back room, you have to, this is a widget. Its value is it's nothing today. So
anytime
you can act like it. But
anytime you show up on draft day, your goal, your wildest dream, is to find a guy who one day becomes someone like Giannis, like a franchise-changing, world-level superstar that is one of 5.
Sure, that's great. But as Brian O has put on our YouTube channel, and as I have said on this show and on Locked On Spurs and on other, if you're chasing Giannis isn't the end-all be-all. The Spurs need shooters. Think about the best iteration of Giannis, the Giannis that went to the NBA Finals, the Giannis that won the NBA Finals and a Finals MVP. PJ Tucker, Pat Connaughton, Dante DiVincenzo, Bobby Portis, Brooke Lopez, all of those guys, 3-and-D. They play defense and they shoot threes and space the floor. That is what he had. Chris Middleton, before the ankle injuries ended his career. Like, that's what is needed if you're going to build around, especially a Giannis and a Wemby. You need these things. Though, and even without Giannis, this team still needs shooters. They've got playmakers right now, and I like it. You've got Fox, you've got Castle. Hopefully his shot develops as he continues to develop. You've got Wemby, who has a little bit of a shot, and his three-point percentage got better this year. But you need some snipers. You need some marksmen. You need Con Knippel. You need Cam Johnson. You need Brook Lopez. You need guys that shoot over 38, 39, 37% from three, that are closer to 40 and above. Like, that's important for this Spurs team moving forward. Derek White, guys like that. Those guys are needed on this roster because there are two things that this roster lacks indefinitely. That is shooting and a competent big. It doesn't need a big that can play 48 minutes like Joker, but you need somebody that can give you 20 to 25 minutes a game just to protect Wemby at times. To when you do go small, it's fine, but you need at least some kind of big to protect Wemby. That's needed on this team. What say you? 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776 if you want to be a part of the conversation with a Spurs need moving forward. We also got the NFL schedule released, both the Texans and the Cowboys schedule. We'll go over that with both shows. But earlier today, Matt Roy joined Joe on the Blitz. There was some big news that came out of City Council today as they approved a plan for an update to Project Marvel, the $4 billion plan to build the downtown sports arena and district. Well, the approval that they came the approval that they came to today now paves the way for them to build the new Spurs arena, and it can be funded in part by state tax dollars. We'll get into that, what it means going forward, plus your phone calls. Don't go anywhere. 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776. This is Extra Innings with Pleasure.
San Antonio's sports star.
George gets justice. If you've been injured, get George, because George gets justice. With over 100 years of combined experience and a relentless dedication to your case, the attorneys at George Salinas Injury Lawyers will fight for what's right. If you've been injured and it's not your fault, get George and get the compensation you deserve. Call George Salinas Injury Lawyers today at 210-225-0909 or visit getgeorge.com. George gets justice. Getgeorge.com.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, let's talk ED, because millions of men experience it, but not everyone can access or afford treatments like Viagra. Well, Hims can help. Through Hims.com, you can get a full range of treatment options for ED, including daily or as-needed meds through a 100% online process. It all starts with an online intake form. Get started at hims.com/radio, and from there, a medical provider licensed in your state will determine if ED treatment is right for you. If prescribed, your medication is shipped to you for free. Find the ED treatment that fits your needs with options up to 95% less than the brand names. Millions of men experience ED, but Hims can help. To start your free online visit and save up to 95%, go to hims.com/radio. That's hims.com/radio for your free online visit. HIMS.com/RADIO.
This is an important notice to all U.S. taxpayers. The IRS is giving away billions of dollars in tax savings through a federal program called the Fresh Start Initiative to aid delinquent taxpayers. This initiative was established for anyone facing financial hardship and unable to pay their back taxes. Qualifying and enrolling in this program will stop all collections, settle your delinquent tax problem, and even reduce what you owe by thousands of dollars. Call the hotline at People's Tax Relief to see if you qualify and get this free information by dialing 800-351-4596. If you have unfiled tax returns or cannot afford to pay your personal or business back taxes, you can now get the help you need. One simple phone call can resolve your tax problem and save you thousands of dollars. To see if you qualify and to get this important free information, call 800-351-4596. 800-351-4596. 800-351-4596.
Must qualify for enrollment. Results vary. Consult with your tax professional prior to enrollment.
Carbach Brewing was not born in San Antonio, Texas, but they have certainly gone out of their way to make San Antonio their second home. We had the head brewer come in, and he said when they first started to reach outside of Houston, San Antonio was the place they wanted to be, and does it show. Carbach beer is all over our great city, from their in-your-face flagship IPA, Hopadillo, to the Ziegenbach, to their bestseller, the Love Street, their Kolsch-style blonde. There is something for everyone in Carbach's lineup, and it is all over the place. Of course, you're going to find it at the grocery stores. Of course, you're going to find it at the liquor stores, but it's also at a bunch of bars and restaurants around town. They wanted to make this their second home, and that's what it's become. So when you're out, you're watching the games at your local sports bar, your local restaurant, your local hangout, you're thinking, I want to elevate my beer game a little bit. Well, friend, wherever you're at, they probably have some Carbach either on tap or in cans. So when you're out and about doing your thing, go ahead and make sure to ask your bartender to please make it a Carbach.
O'Reilly. You need parts? We got parts. Product availability? Just one part that makes O'Reilly stand apart. Get one free set of brake pads when you buy 2 brake rotors. Upgrade to Brake Best Select brake pads for $10 more, or upgrade to Brake Best Select Pro or Import Direct pads for just $20. Offer in-store only. Restrictions apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
When you think of hot, you might think about the tragic time you ate too much wasabi. Or about getting into your car on a summer day when it feels more like stepping into a sauna. But heat can work in your favor, like during Verizon Red Hot Deal Days. Get hundreds of hot deals on all your favorites, like iPhone 16 Pro with Apple Intelligence, Apple Watch Series 10, and iPad, on any plan. Only until May 28th for new and existing customers. Offer available on My Plan. Only at Verizon.
We expect our information in real time. US Med carries continuous glucose monitors, which provide real-time readings of blood glucose levels. US Med is an approved provider for Medicare and over 500 private insurers. So call 888-665-0696 today for a free insurance and Medicare benefits check as easy as, that's 888-665-0696.
Welcome back into Extra Innings with Pleasure right here on San Antonio Sports Star, 94.1 FM, sasportstar.com. I am James Pleasure. A lot to get into. We'll talk about the NFL schedule and its release coming up here in a little bit, how you feeling about your team as it relates to where the bye week falls, et cetera, games you may be looking to go to. We'll discuss all that, but lots of phone calls coming in on the Spurs, the build for the possible offseason, Giannis, et cetera. Scott, Keith, Casey, I'll take you in the order that you came in. Scott, you're first up on Extra Innings with Pledge. Welcome in, my man. What's going on?
Thanks, Pleasure. Appreciate you having me on. So I heard, AJ and Rob talking about, Giannis and what he would bring and, what type of culture fit. And I don't know if y'all have had an opportunity to discuss the report that came out today from, I believe it's a Scoop Robinson, but basically saying that the 3 things that Giannis would be looking for in a new situation would be, first, he wants to stay in the Eastern Conference. Second of all, he's looking to have some control. Well, yeah, it's a easier road to hoe, but he's looking for some input on roster construction, potentially coaching decisions. And frankly, if we're taking that report at face value, that doesn't sound like the type of fit that
it's
would
not
be
a Spur
with the Spurs. It's not exactly. And so the 2 teams that were mentioned as potential targets based off of that criteria were the Toronto Raptors and the Brooklyn Nets. And if the Spurs aren't going to get involved in getting Giannis directly, I don't see why we couldn't be a facilitator in potentially a 3-team trade.
Oh, give me Cam Johnson.
Shooting.
Give me Cam
Johnson.
Johnson.
That's exactly where I was going. Cam Johnson. We need some shooting. He's young. He's athletic. Why couldn't we be a 3rd-team facilitator and bring him to San Antonio instead of Giannis?
I like where your head's at, Scott. That is a fantastic idea because you're right. This team does have pieces. It's got a lot that I like. And even that 2nd overall pick and taking Dylan Harper going to be, I think, a very good piece for this team moving forward, but it still needs shooters. And if you can be a third team to help Brooklyn acquire a Giannis Antetokounmpo, and you can somehow, in a way, use your first-round picks to acquire a Cam Johnson to facilitate that deal, I'm all for it, my man.
Absolutely. I'm on board for that.
I
think
appreciate it.
You'd be a good culture fit for the Spurs as well.
That would absolutely be true. Appreciate the phone call, Scott. Great stuff.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Let's go next. Keith on how the Spurs need to build out going forward. Keith, welcome into Extra Innings with Pledge. What's going on, my man?
Hey, how you doing? Yeah, just like I told you earlier, just a guy on the outside looking in, non-Spur fan. Like, they got to do something now, man. Like, they got a viable piece in Fox. Of course, Wemby's their foundation, and like I think Joe had said it a while back. It's like the Spur way and Poppy trust, but it's like, how long are you going to slow play this? You got to be aggressive. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes, not like the exception of LeBron, not everyone lasts 12, 15-year careers. You know, maybe Wemby plays for 8 years,
sure,
9 years, you know what I mean? Hypothetically. So you got to get it while the iron's hot. And I don't know, like, just me as a Laker fan, not a LeBron fan, but the rivalries versus him and Timmy, Kobe and Timmy, you know, I always respected the Spurs. And, you know, you got to do it now, man, because you wait 2-3 years just with draft picks. And then what happens if, you know, anything could happen at that point in time? Teams get better. Maybe Wemby gets hurt, God forbid. But, you know, hey, you got to do it now. The time is now.
I get it. But I will counter with this, though, because at least in San Antonio and to an extent, they're in LA as well, but different ways to acquire the talent that you get. Like, LA has always been, you know, whatever we need in terms of star potential, we can get with the bright lights of LA. San Antonio is not the same way. You're not, luring a Shaq or a Kobe with the glitz and glamour of San Antonio usually, right?
Yeah.
So you've always had to build it. And one thing about building it, it allows the opportunity for, you know, the potential of a dynasty if you draft correctly while you're doing that. You're not going to be picking this high in the draft again very soon to get generational type players like potentially a Dylan Harper. So Dylan Harper, as he takes over, like, you're not going to be able to pay what you're Devin Vassell, what you're paying him now moving forward. That contract's eventually going to have to slide off the books. And it'd be nice to have a person ready to take that mantle over when it's time.
Well, I will counter you with this, and I think y'all did a great job of trading for Castle, because I know the Timberwolves are kicking themselves in the butt when they traded. But, like, I don't know, man. I think Castle's going to be pretty darn good. I don't know too much about Harper, but what are your thoughts on his potential and being a true stud in the league? Because Castle,
I love Castle.
That kid's going to be pretty good.
I said last year during the draft process, he was my favorite player in the draft. And you got him at 4. And he ends up winning Rookie of the Year. He's got all the potential in the world offensively to develop into something even greater. And he's a lockdown defender on the outside. So he does all the great things. But Harper is kind of the inverse of that. He is a fantastic offensive player that has the ability to develop as a defender. And he gives you more scoring, which you need scorers outside of Wemby and Fox. Like, you just need the ability to be able to score points. And like I said, you've got guys like, whether it's Keldon at 20 or Devin Vassell at $30 million a year, those contracts aren't sustainable, especially when you're about to give, I believe it's 54 million per year plus to De'Aaron Fox. And then the year after that, you're going to have to give Wemby a max. And then the year after that, you're likely going to have to give Castle a rookie max. Like, you've got to start playing the salary cap gymnastics, and having young, cheap talent is very, very beneficial for the first part of that allows you to keep some of these higher price guys like Vassell and Keldon around in the interim as you're building towards that title.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's a great point. Me, I'm a little biased with Keldon because I'm a big Kentucky Wildcat fan. So I liked him back in college, and he's been a good role player. But I think
Fantastic.
he would really thrive off the bench. And even Vassell's another one where I think they really should keep one of those two guys just for the simple fact that like they could be like a Manu type role.
And keeping one of them is great, but you can't keep everybody. And that's the problem in a salary cap league. So you have to start picking and choosing battles, and these young, cheaper deals help with that.
Very true. Very true. Well, enjoy the convo, my man. Appreciate you. I listen early and often, so you have a great and blessed rest of your day. Thanks for your time.
Same to you, Keith. Thanks for the phone call. Call back anytime. I appreciate it. One more to get to. Casey, what's going on? What about the Spurs offseason build? What do you got for me? Welcome into Extra Innings with Pledger.
Thank you, Pledger. Appreciate it. I kind of disagree with the last guy. I get it's tempting to get Giannis, but we've seen, what happens when teams shoot the dart and, sign all these, superstars. It doesn't work. I mean, you've seen the Suns, the Nets. You can make an argument. Hasn't really worked for the Lakers, even though they had, the Mickey Mouse championship. But I mean, we have to, I think we we double down on the youth. We're going to pick the best possible player, which is Dylan Harper. It's a little bit awkward. He doesn't have exactly the size we're looking at. I know people were saying Ace Bailey because of his size, but I mean, we have to
His size isn't the size we thought it was either.
Yeah. And I think Dylan Harper is the best possible player. I think you can break it up in tiers. Cooper Flagg, he's in his own tier, and so is Dylan Harper, and
yes.
then
everyone else.
And we've seen teams, in the draft where they picked based off fitment and it didn't work. Like, back Luka Doncic when, they picked, I forgot the name, but they passed up on him for fitment and it did not work. So
Marvin Bagley III went to the Kings second overall, I believe. And I'm trying to remember who went first overall that year.
But I think second is a lock. I don't think we're going to get Giannis. I think at 14's a little awkward. I know, we're very grateful to have what we have. I kind of wish maybe we got a little bit lucky and we're, maybe around the 10 range so we could have gotten Knuppel. But, I think at 14, if you want some size and Carter Bryant is available, we should pick Carter Bryant. And if not,
I like him.
I think we'll probably trade that pick if Carter Bryant is not available. I think we'll double down on our assets and pick some, and, maybe, get that another pick for the future. But we have a lot of assets, and I think if we get Giannis, we will be giving up everything. Cass will be involved, Vassell, Barnes.
And if you don't involve Castle, you're giving away the rest of the treasure trove of picks. Like, it's one or the other. You're either giving up multiple picks or you're giving up Castle and a couple of picks. Like, the only way to negate some of the picks that you give out is to give out talent. And so it's one or the other. And there's a reason that number 2 is so sought after right now, because like you said, it is Flagg in a tier by himself, then Harper in a tier by himself, and then everyone else. And everyone wants to, which makes it there are 2 ways draft picks have value. The future unknown of an unprotected pick moving forward and the potential of what it could turn into. See Atlanta. It's a very, 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 very good trade chip that you could use for something. But then once it has that value at 14, it loses all of its value. Or you have a pick hit like your own at 2. And now that pick is very, 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 and it's only valuable at 2. If that pick was 4, it wouldn't be that valuable because the draft has 2 people that they believe are going to be franchise changers, kind of like Wemby and Scoot Henderson.
But Pledger, I'll ask you a question. If let's say if Milwaukee tried to negotiate, we were able to keep Castle, but they wanted a second pick plus maybe a couple extra first-round picks, would you accept that?
No. And for me, it's a fit thing because I'm either giving up all my picks to acquire them or I'm giving up Castle to acquire them. Plus, I've got to match salary. So I'm talking about damn near $60 million worth of salary that I have to match. So you've got to throw Harrison Barnes in. You've got to throw either Keldon or Devin in to get up to the amount of money that Giannis is making to be able to match it. So now you're less players and you've added a player, but now you still have the same issue of you need to surround them with shooters. How are you going to do that? You just gave away all the assets that you need to get shooters in terms of trading for talent, like those draft picks that you need. I like the roster as currently constructed. I like the pieces they have. I think they just need. A lot of people are talking about the big three. You said the big three thing's not working anymore. Creating super teams. It only worked for the Warriors. Maybe you can throw Miami into that. Yeah, because they added pieces that fit into the puzzle. And building a team isn't about acquiring superstars. It's about a superstar and then pieces that fit around said superstar. Because in Golden State, Klay Thompson needed 3 dribbles to get 37 points. He doesn't need the ball to be effective. Kevin Durant's the same way. He can play with or without the ball and be an effective player. Draymond Green was a trash guy. And Steph is your primary ball handler and ball dominant player. So it works. You had to have Chris Bosh literally take a back seat to make it work in Miami. Because if Chris Bosh wanted to be who Chris Bosh has been his entire career, it's not going to work. And that's the problem. A lot of these superstars come together thinking their combined talents are going to be enough. And it's not, because you have to fit into certain roles to make it work. And then plus with the constraints of the salary cap, you've negated your opportunity to build around that team in any sort of way with any depth. Appreciate the phone call, Casey.
Yes, sir. Hey, I think let's get Naz Reid. That's all I got to say. Thank you, Pledger.
I'm not against getting Naz Reid. Naz Reid's a fit for the Spurs. He's a big that can shoot and can space the floor, and I think he would be a fantastic addition to this roster with the amount of cap space that this team actually has. Coming up next, we're going to take a look at the NFL schedule and its schedule release. Where do the Cowboys sit? How many wins do you see them getting this upcoming season? And what do you think about where their schedule lines up? Hard, easy early, hard. Well, we'll discuss it next right here on Extra Innings with Pledge on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-499-9102. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-499-9102. That's 800-499-9102. Tax Relief Advocates, real solutions for real people. We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-550-8841. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-550-8841. That's 800-550-8841. Tax Relief Advocates, real solutions for real people.
There are low prices, and then there are Kohl's lowest prices of the season. I got myself a comfy tee for just $4.99 and a stylish dress for 50% off. Then I found my husband a pair of shorts for under $17. Plus, I earned Kohl's cash. Yup, it doesn't get better than Kohl's lowest prices of the season. So go check them out before it's too late. Select styles, some exclusions apply. Offers end May 18th. See store at Kohl's.com for details.
When you think of hot, you might think about the tragic time you ate too much wasabi. Or about getting into your car on a summer day when it feels more like stepping into a sauna. But heat can work in your favor. Like during Verizon Red Hot Deal Days. Get hundreds of hot deals on all your favorites, like iPhone 16 Pro with Apple Intelligence, Apple Watch Series 10, and iPad on any plan. Only until May 28th for new and existing customers. Offer available on My Plan. Only at Verizon.
Most people in radio commercials talk really fast. But we made this one for RV owners. Progressive knows they like the slower pace of RV life, like this commercial. And they know Progressive will protect their RV at a fair price with discounts. Now here comes the fast part. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like you know to check the GPS directions first, before driving to the mall.
Turn right at the light. In 1,000 miles, you will reach Montreal.
Not Montreal, the mall.
Recalculating. 6,000 miles to Nepal.
No, the mall.
Checking first is smart.
Recalculating.
So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Savings vary. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
Summer's here, and you can now get almost anything you need for your sunny days delivered with Uber Eats. What do we mean by almost? Well, you can't get a well-groomed lawn delivered, but you can get a chicken parmesan delivered. A cabana? That's a no. But a banana? That's a yes. A nice tan? Sorry, nope. But a box fan? Happily, yes. A day of sunshine? No. A box of fine wines? Yes. Uber Eats can definitely get you that. Get almost anything delivered with Uber Eats. Order now. Alcohol in select markets. Product availability may vary by region. See app for details.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
The NFL is on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
Welcome back into Extra Innings with Pledger right here on San Antonio Sports Star, 941 FM, SASportsStar.com. I am James Pledger. Appreciate y'all riding along with me tonight as we take a look at the NFL schedule release from last night. The Dallas Cowboys now know who, when, where, and in what order they're playing and when their bye week falls. And for the Dallas Cowboys, where does that put them? Well, earlier today on the Morning Huddle, AJ and Rob were talking about the Cowboys and that schedule release.
But the NFL schedule release is here. We know what it looks like. We know, boy, the Cowboys and the Chiefs both going to play on Christmas and Thanksgiving, it looks like. I know. As a Cowboy fan, does it bother you? They're playing on both holidays. Like, it's going to monopolize your day? Do you guys' wives get mad if you're watching TV on Christmas Day?
No, we married appropriately. They're equally excited. Are you kidding?
Your wife's excited about the Cowboy games?
Yes, man. She's a good old big-haired Dallas girl. You
really?
I brought her from the motherland.
Yeah, my wife's from
she was recruited.
Yeah, my wife doesn't care about sports. She doesn't care about sports match games now.
The Thanksgiving Day thing. Well, that's a given. I mean, we know that.
Yeah,
I mean, I know exactly what I'm going to be doing at 3:45 on Thursday, November the 20th. I know every year I know exactly. Now, the Christmas Day, that's a little bit of gravy. That's a little bit of something.
Christmas Day, I'm used to NBA.
And that's just
me.
it. So we're going to have a full NBA day, and the NFL has decided now Christmas is ours as well.
Yeah.
And the Cowboys are going to be on, it appears, on the new Netflix streaming. That's why we're not sure if it's going to happen, but we think the Netflix is going to announce today that they're playing the Commanders on Christmas Day on Netflix.
Well, I don't know what channel it's on. They are playing the Commanders on Christmas Day.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying.
What channel
on
it's
Netflix.
on, I don't really care.
So I think we're going to get a streaming bonanza as well.
I think it's on YouTube
they'll
TV.
be able to
What's on YouTube TV? Which one is it? I remember seeing that.
Well, I mean, YouTube's carry them all. Is there a specific? I know what you're talking about.
It was a Thursday night game.
Right, it's a Thursday night game.
Yeah, it's one of them.
Exclusive. Yeah.
The rest of them go to Amazon or NFL Network. I don't know how it works.
Everyone just gets a little piece of it.
If you're doing Netflix very first broadcast or an early broadcast, I don't expect a lot of polish. I think it's a gift. It's an NFL's gift to Netflix. It's kind of like when Amazon got that first Thursday night game, they gifted them the Patriots. Congratulations, or whoever it was. They gifted them a champion-style team to welcome Amazon into the streaming world. And I think that the NFL world, Goodell included, is like, all right, Netflix, you pay us all this money. Your gift will be the Cowboys on Christmas Day. Yep. And that's a good gift. That'll bring the eyes.
We made a lot last year about the Cowboys' first 6 games and how I thought they had 2 games that were sure losses, 2 games that were sure wins, and 2 games that were kind of coin flips. And they ended up winning one of the coin flips and losing one of the sure wins. But they ended up 3-3 in their first 6 either way. They won against Pittsburgh and New York, and Cleveland lost to the Saints, Ravens, and Lions. This year, they're right out of the gate getting into the divisional schedule.
They're going to get smoked, man. It's going to be a rough start. If they're above 500 in October, high five.
See, the Eagles are obviously a tough one out of the gate, but from week 2 to week 9, and then you get your bye in week 10, the Giants at Chicago, home Green Bay, at Jets, at Carolina, home Washington, at Denver, home Arizona. I mean, other than
well, keep in mind, you see a lot of bad teams.
Those are all very winnable games.
But they're on the road. And this team is starting out with at least half the offensive line is going to be under a year of experience. Half. You know what I mean? So the offensive line is going to start out behind, unless some miracle happens in training camp and they can come together. I don't expect that they won't. I just don't think it's going to happen quick. So you come out without much of an offensive line. You got a brand new receiving core with one all-star given. You got a bunch of running backs. I don't know. I don't expect greatness early. I think they're a winning football team. I think there's probably 9-10 wins in this thing, but I don't think it's going to be early.
Yeah.
Look, I think they need to stack wins early if they're going to be what they think they're going to be. But the end of that schedule is not bad, and I like the week 10 bye week. Fred Cassara says he's a big-time Dallas fan, but believes they'll finish 8-9. Reason is Dak will not be as mobile as before. Lots of new coaches. The lots of new coaches are a good thing. I think the coaches have a better idea of what they want to do and how they want to attack. And it's going to be more beneficial for Dak Prescott because they are going to lean more heavily on the run and play action other than just talk about it the way Mike McCarthy did. This is Extra Innings with Pledger. I am James Pledger right here on San Antonio Sports Star. I think they're a 10 to 11 win team. And I don't think that's out of the conversation. You got to remember, Philadelphia, last time they lost their coordinator and they just lost Kellen Moore, they took a huge step back offensively because of it. And we don't know what they're going to be with the new offensive coordinator up there in Philly and how that's going to translate, especially with year 2 under Jaden Daniels. Does he step back the way that you had with CJ Stroud last year? Does he continue to play at an elite level? That's a good question to ask. Can Dan Quinn's defense catch up? We all know what happens after a year or 2 with Cliff Kingsbury and those offenses. They become stagnant, teams catch on, and they usually struggle more in the second half of the year. Can they overcome that? It's going to be very interesting to find out. 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776. If you want to discuss it, we'll take a look at the Texans coming up next right here on Extra Innings with Pledger on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
Hey, this is Rob Thompson here with my good friends from Prize Picks. I'm just one of millions of members of Prize Picks that play daily fantasy sports every day, and things just keep getting better. How about 2,000x on your cash today. That's right. Cash in on the basketball playoffs with Prize Picks. Don't miss your best chance to add your favorite players from the court on Prize Picks lineup. And whether it's points, rebounds, assists, and whatever else, take your pick more or less for your shot to win up to 2,000x your cash today. Turn up your playoff hot takes into tickets on basketball and championship winnings every day. And there's stuff going on all week. Every Tuesday, Prize Picks will discount several projections on the board. They take up to 15 to 25% off savings and fun. And then there's Big Flex Friday. Those picks that don't win, you get your net losses back in promo funds up to your limit as soon as the lineup settles. Hey, there's money back. That's why I love Prize Picks. 2,000 times your money and some free ones. Download Prize Picks. Use the code Alamo for 50 free bucks. That's Prize Picks. Go run your game.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out collection letters, garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance. And you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it even harder to get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in taxpayer assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Let them fight on your behalf, helping to put your tax problems to rest. Call the tax professionals at Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-783-8055. 800-783-8055. 800-783-8055.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
If you need to hire, you know it takes time. Well, what if you could meet with qualified candidates the very next day? Now you can with Zip Intro from ZipRecruiter. You simply pick a time and it does all the work of finding and scheduling qualified candidates for you. Then you choose who you want to talk to and meet with great people on back-to-back video calls as soon as the next day.
Try Zip Intro for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. Zip Intro. Post jobs today. Talk to qualified candidates tomorrow.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-230-2777. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-230-2777. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-230-2777. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-230-2777 or biglou.com.
It's Extra Innings with Pledger on 94.1 San Antonio's Sports Star.
Welcome back into Extra Innings with Pledger right here on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. I am James Pledger. You can follow me everywhere on Instagram, X, all that good stuff. At I am Pledger. You can follow the station at SA Sports Star. We talked about the Cowboys, their potential. What about the Texans and their potential? Earlier today, Joe Rangel on the Blitz was talking about it.
Let's take a look at the Texans schedule, shall we? It was released. It was the NFL schedule release day yesterday, which was a lot of fun. And I will tell you this, I've got the Texans going 11-6 this year. I think their schedule is somewhat favorable, although they do have some tough games in here. They're going to start out on the road at the LA Rams. And sorry, Texan fans, but you're going to lose that game. So you start out 0-1. You come home against Tampa Bay, I think you get to 500. You're 1-1. Jacksonville, you'll win that game, 2-1. Titans after that at home, you'll win that game as well, 3-1. Ooh, then you got to travel to see, the Baltimore Ravens. That's a loss. What is that, 3-2? I don't know. You're going to have to help me keep count, Pledge. I know you're answering the phone, but that's okay. Then they got a bye week. The Texans have an early bye week. Week number 6. I don't know if that's good or bad. I think if I was a football team, I'd rather have that around 10 or 11 to rest and finish the stretch. Well, then you've got Seattle coming up after that at Seattle. How is Sam Darnold going to do as the quarterback at Seattle? I think that's a tough place to win, so I think the Texans lose that game. Then they've got Brock Purdy and the San Francisco 49ers coming in week 8. That would be a October 26th game. Difficult game, but I think the Texans pull that one out. Denver comes in after that. I think the Texans win that as well. Jacksonville comes in. So the Texans have 3 games in a row at home. They're going to win all 3 of those games. They travel to Tennessee. I fully expect them to win that game. So they're looking good at this point in time. Then in week 12, a big matchup, and I've already seen or heard Pledge say he'll be at this game. The Buffalo Bills, as in Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills come into town week 12. That's going to be a tough one. A lot of people, including Joe Buck, picking the Buffalo Bills to win the Super Bowl this year, which is going to be which again is tough, but you make your picks and you feel it. I think Buffalo's going to be improved this year. Week 13, the Texans go to Indianapolis. They should win that. They still don't have a quarterback in Indianapolis. So I think that's a win for the Texans. But then they have to go see Mr. Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs week 14, and I think they'll get beat there. Arizona Cardinals, that's such I think the Cardinals defense is going to be much improved. But it all stems on Kyler Murray, doesn't it? Is this guy finally going to turn into the quarterback we all want him to be or thought that he could be? Not sure. So I'm going to have to give that one to the Texans just because it's at home. You get the Las Vegas Raiders at home. That should be a win. But then you have to travel out to Los Angeles to battle the Chargers. When I talk about the LA Chargers, it's interesting. And I had the same problem because they're playing the Cowboys too. But I had the same problem because I don't know what Jim Harbaugh is going to make out of this team in year 2. I think they're going to be much better running the football. They're going to try to be a power football team because that's what Jim Harbaugh likes to do. He did it at Michigan, and I think he wants to do the same thing with the Chargers. So how is that working out? And is that helping Justin Herbert be a better quarterback? I think if it works, certainly it helps him be a better quarterback.
Remember, they drafted Amari in Hampton, too.
They did. So that's going to be an interesting team to watch this year, I think, the LA Chargers, a very interesting team to watch. So I think on the road, the Texans probably lose that game, and they finish out things at home against the Indianapolis Colts. You wrap all of that up, 11-6 is what I have the Texans going. They'll win their division just because they'll win it by default. I mean, you really don't have much competition there. Well, you're going to beat the Titans twice.
You already differ from Bleacher Report, who has the Jags winning the division.
Really? Well, I think people have been picking the Jags to win that division for as long as Trevor Lawrence has been there.
Well, they got Travis Hunter now.
Well, okay. So, the hardest part about that is going to figure out how you're going to use that guy. I still have a hard time believing that you can use him both ways on a full-time basis.
He's a receiver I mix in and nickel and dime packages when I can.
Right, something like that, because the problem is, and I've heard a lot of people talk about this, and it makes perfect sense. Perfect sense. The meetings, the preparation meetings. So where does he go? Does he go to the offensive meetings or the defensive meetings? I mean, you can't have them. They're going to have them both at the same time. And where's he going to be? And that's going to be the biggest problem is the preparation that he's going to have to face. So I think you're right. I think to me, you play him at wide receiver, and there'll be some opportunities defensively that you can put him in there. So we'll see. That's going to be fun to watch, though.
I'm very intrigued about the bye week. Last week, it was the last bye week of the year. It was super late. This year, it is super early in the year. It is week 6. The Cowboys have a really good bye week at week 10. I think weeks 10 through 12 are the kind of sweet spot of the bye week to break up the monotony. We're going to find out if they can sustain and keep things going after a very, very long second half of the season going into the postseason. This has been Extra Innings with Pledger. I am James Pledger right here on San Antonio Sports Star. Remember, call those that you love. Check on them. Make sure they're doing all right. You never know what people are going through in life. This has been Extra Innings with Pledger. We'll see you tomorrow right here on San Antonio Sports Star.
My name is John Clay Wolf. I'm the founder of GimmeTheVin.com. Every month, for the next 10 months, everyone that sells us their car to GimmeTheVin.com will get put in a drawing for a $25,000